Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And in this one, the unthinkable has happened. I thought that we were going to be coming to a little bit of a slowdown when it comes to class changes with Shadowlands just coming out around the corner, but I was wrong. So yeah, you might want to reconsider those characters you're going to be making. Some of these changes are very massive and some of them are greatly beneficial. And then there's still some changes that aren't happening to some specializations in the game. But I just wanted to run you through quickly what has been found here. So these are upcoming class bounce changes for November, from November 10th, 2020. And the initial change overall is that tank specialization's passive threat generation has been increased. You can see that moving into Shadowlands, if you're a PvE focused player, that they tried to reduce threat generation. They're trying to reduce cleave targets as well by limiting how many targets you can hit with AoE. And I think this is an attempt to bring back some of the older flavor from PvE in previous iterations of the game, where it was harder to generate threat and it was harder to do AoE damage. But it looks like they're rolling back a little bit on the threat generation portion of this, and this should be at least a little bit helpful to anybody who was playing the tank and worried about having a hard time holding threat. So this is just a buff in general to all tanks. Now for Druid, Feral is getting a pretty big buff across the board. I'm not surprised here when looking at some of the raid logs for the upcoming expansion. Feral was on the bottom. A lot of specs other than Destrolock were on the on the bottom, so I'm not surprised here to see Feral getting buffed. In PvP, I feel like Feral is actually a sleeper spec. It was really good already and now is even better. So Feral might, if you're wondering about trying Feral, PvE is 8% enough. It's probably debatable, but in PvP, you're probably going to be pretty insane after this. Resto had the damage of all of its abilities reduced by 5%. So if you're interested in running things like Torghast, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to do this. It's probably not game breaking. I feel like this is likely towards Sunfire in Mythic Plus doing too much damage, but it will also hit your damage output in PvP as well. You may opt to have to go for Guardian Affinity instead, although with how high burst damage is, you probably want to play Guardian Affinity most of the time in PvP anyways, but this seems like a nerf that's targeted towards Resto Druid and Mythic Plus, but it will hamper your ability a little bit in solo content like Torghast. Beast Mastery got a nerf as well. The damage of all of their abilities except Cobra Shot and Barbed Shot have been reduced by 5%. Again, likely with them performing well in PvE, but in PvP, they were already not doing fantastic. So Beast Mastery is becoming more and more of a spec that I'm somewhat writing off. Marksmanship had their volley talent reduced by 30%, likely again targeted at Mythic Plus trash pulls, not going to have any consequence in PvP or single target, obviously. For mages, Arcane Explosion damage has been reduced by 8%. Likely again targeted towards Mythic Plus, as Arcane Explosion is not used in PvP. Frost had a lot of changes towards it. Splitting Ice's Ice Lance damage to the secondary target has been reduced to 65%, was 80%. So again, probably targeting Frost Mage in Mythic Plus, but also potentially a little bit in PvP, although you weren't always running Splitting Ice. Ice Lance has just flat out been nerfed by 10%. There's been a lot of attention on Ice Lance, so I'm not surprised to see so many targeted nerfs towards it. And Frost Mage was directly competing with Marksman Hunter in a way for Mythic Plus. So Marksman losing some AoE damage may even them out, but I feel like this is hurting Frost a lot more. And then also Freezing Rain's Blizzard damage has now been increased to 60%, up from 50%, so a slight buff to their AoE in that regard. Comet Storm's damage has also been increased by 5%, which is a little bit of a buff for PvP, but that spamming slap Ice Lance stuff might fall off pretty heavily here. Windwalkers, you're generally happy about this. Just a 5% damage buff across the board here for all abilities. In PvP, I felt like we're already doing pretty good. In PvE, obviously, you've just been a constant underperformer, so you're going to be thankful to get 5% wherever you can get it. And then in PvP, this is going to make you even more powerful. Paladin received a ton of changes here. Specifically, some complaints were that they added mana cost to abilities like Crusader Strike, and they've decided to reduce the mana cost on that. This will enable more specifically Holy Paladins to be able to do damage without running out of mana too dramatically, whether it be in Mythic Plus or PvP, although I feel like this was probably more complained about in PvP, although it did carry over into PvP a bit. So now your Crusader Strike is lower mana. This will generate Holy Power, so you can cast things like Word of Glory. They nerfed the damage damage output of Shield of Righteous by 15%. That's all Paladin specs, but obviously is targeted towards Protection Paladin. Protection Paladin doing a lot of damage at the moment. It has a ton of modifiers on Shield of the Righteous from legendaries and conduits, so seeing it get nerfed and how prevalent Prop Paladin was is not surprising, but if you're planning on your Prop Paladin being a power play, then you might want to ease up a little bit. It's still probably going to be strong, but it received quite a lot of nerfs. Now, Holy, specifically, Holy Paladin, Holy Shock is going to heal for 10% more. Word of Glory is also going to heal for 9% more, and this is targeted at only Holy's Word of Glory, not Ret or Protection, the way that it's listed here. And then your Glimmer of Light was reduced by 10%, and that's likely more oriented towards PvE than it is for PvP. But getting Holy Shock healing, reduced mana cost of Crusader Strike, Word of Glory buffs, all of your instant healing and your ability to generate instant healing has been increased. So this has potential to mix up some things here in terms of the healer strength. Still going to be a bit disappointed that Infusion of Light isn't reducing the cast of your Holy Light. That seems to be something that they're not going to go back on at this point. So your Holy Lights are still going to be very long, and I know that that was a common complaint, but doesn't seem like that's changing. Protection Paladin, again, more nerfs. Protection Paladin passive armor bonus is reduced to 10%, was 20%. This is likely going to make you more squishy, maybe in an attempt to force you to not use Word of Glory to heal yourself or have more Shield or the Righteous uptime. Either way, it's making you squishier. And now also Word of Glory will be increased by 9%, and healing when casting Word of Glory rank 2 on yourself reduced to 250% based on your max health, down from 300%. So trying to nerf, this is a weird way to read this. So overall, it looks like Word of Glory is being nerfed on Prop Paladin. And now Prop Paladin is very prevalent in PvP. Will this nerf, I don't know if this was really targeted at PvP or Prop Paladin in general, or it seems more PvE oriented, but it has some consequence in PvP because Prop Paladin was very prevalent. So Prop Paladin is weaker. Is it going to be destroyed by this? I don't think so. I mean, in PvE, maybe. Losing 10% of your armor value is a pretty big deal. But in PvP, I think there's still going to be quite a problem, which if you're a Prop Paladin player, you're happy about them not getting nerfed too hard, but in PvE it seems like you're getting hit pretty hard. Ret Paladin got some big changes, so their overall damage is being buffed by 4%, and I read that, I was like, wait, what? You're going to buff Ret Paladin damage by 4% in PvP, but it makes sense in PvE, and honestly their damage outside of their burst cooldowns likely does need a bit of a buff, so nice to see a little 4% bump there. But Execution Sentence can now no longer critically strike, so you could stack a ton of damage into Execution Sentence, and then it would explode for all the damage you put into it, and it could crit, and it would kill players if it crit, generally speaking. So now it won't be able to crit, and its initial damage is reduced by 25%. So Execution Sentence is likely to be a lot less bursty. It's still probably going to be the pick on that row with some changes to the other baseline talents not really being too appealing. So you're likely still going to play it. It's just it's not going to be as bursty as it was. I'm really sad about that because I was enjoying my Ret Paladin. Maybe I played Ret Paladin too much. Final Reckoning talent has also been dramatically nerfed. Instead of increasing all damage taken by 50%, it's reduced to 35%. And there were some synergies between Execution Sentence and Final Reckoning. But as a trade-off, your Sanctified Wrath talent has been increased by 50%. So I may be trying Sanctified Wrath out a little bit more now as a result of these changes. Hopefully their overall damage is now higher with the 4% change, but their burst spike is it's pretty gone. And I apologize because no matter what I play in this game, it gets nerfed. I'm sorry, Ret Paladins out there. I'll take the hit on this one. Disc Priest, I feel like it's not surprising to see some nerfs coming in for Discipline Priest. Power Word Shield Absorb reduced by 8%. Shadow Word Pain damage reduced by 10%. And then Purge the Wicket, which replaces Shadow Word Pain, also reduced by 10%. Not surprising to see their instant absorbs in raid, also in PvP, as well as their damage output slightly tweaked down. Does this mean that Discipline Priest is over when it comes to PvP? Probably not. Does it mean that they're over for raid? Probably not. Does it mean that they're over for Mythic Plus? Maybe. It's just that Mistweaver and Resto Druid, I feel like, can get damage output so much easier, and maybe not with this slight nerf to Resto Druid. It's possible. But again, they just got slightly nerfed. So Discipline Priest, I think, is still going to be good in PvP and raid, but I feel like Mythic Plus, I feel like it'll be okay, but we're probably not going to see any in MDI. Rogue, Subtlety, resolved an issue with Eviscerate, dealing damage from another rogue's Find Weakness. That actually could have been a big deal if you were in a group with multiple rogues and the other rogue's Find Weakness was up and you didn't notice that yours fell off and you were getting extra damage from it. It's obviously just a bug fix, but could have had maybe some big implications in PvE when generally because people were stacking a lot of Subtlety rogues. Shaman, Chain Heal is reduced by 7%. Likely again targeted towards raid. Restoration. The bonus damage for choosing the Restoration Shaman specialization has been lowered to 15%, was 40. At level 37, this value is increased. So this is probably a low level balance tuning issue where maybe Resto Shamans were one-shotting people at low levels in PvP. It's really interesting that they're aware of this type of stuff. Like, that seems really random, right? Out of all of the things going on right now with Shadowlands coming forward, to just be aware of like, whoa, Resto Shamans at low level are doing too much damage. A little bit out of left field. If you're making a Resto Shaman Twinks at low level, might be disappointed about this. Arms Warrior likes this. I mean, Warrior was on the bottom in PvE, but in PvP it was doing really good, and this makes you even better in PvP. For Arms Warriors, 6% more damage. Also, Cleave no longer replaces Sweeping Strikes. Going to be really great for Mythic Plus. This is in PvE when you're struggling with AoE, keeping Sweeping Strikes and getting Cleave. I mean, this has potential to bring Arms Warrior back as a contender in PvE, and it was already phenomenal in PvP, so this flat 6% you love to see. Fury, is this going to be enough to save you? You're getting buffed. Overall, 10% more damage. However, your Whirlwind Cleave is reduced a little bit by 5%. It's still buff overall. And then Blade Storm buffed by 8%. And your Frenzy talent was buffed. Haste reduced to 2% was 3. And the max stacks increased to 4 was 3. It's the same. No. 2 times 4. Apologies on having to do the math on this. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 3 is 9. So it's got nerfed by 1%. Although I feel like 10% flat damage overall is probably going to be helping you out a lot more than anything. In PvP specifically, this is going to be helping you out. So Arms Warrior looks insane as a result of this, like a summary of the changes. The Disc Priesters are probably more targeted towards raid. They're going to bring you down in PvP. Feral is going to be a monster. Resto Druid is slightly weaker in Mythic Plus, but probably still one of the best. Windwalkers are generally happy. Frost Mages are generally sad. Hunters are probably indifferent unless you're BM and you're already probably non-existent, at least in PvP. Holy Paladins are smiley face. Prop Paladins are slightly frowny face, uncertain. Rep Paladins are going to miss their really heavy burst one-shot damage. Rogues are bugged. Resto Shaman, Raid Tweak, Warriors, Happy Face. These are some of the changes coming in on November 10th, 2020. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave it with a like and comment down below with your thoughts on these changes. And if you think they missed anything or you like the direction that they're going with this coming towards Shadowlands. Again, with this channel, I'm just trying to keep you up to date with all the changes, give you my opinion to try and help us all be able to pick the correct gameplay and get the most enjoyment out of the expansion. So if that's the type of content that you enjoy, then please hit the subscription button. It's absolutely free. You don't have to pay anything for this subscription. It's just going to notify you when my videos go live so that you can always be up to date with all of this information to make your choices in real time. I appreciate you tuning into this video. Check out some of my other videos. I've got links to tier lists, links to class recommendations, and other than that, I will be seeing you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.